conference will be in the first dog watch. Anyone who arrives later will have to wait in line. He grimaced. The mess bills will be sky high. A midshipman was waiting to take Masters to the vault, as it was known. He followed him through a heavy gate, and then to another gate where an officer was waiting to check his identity once more. It was very polite and very formal. Masters thought of the triumphant Quicksilver and her return to Portland and could understand Bumper Fawcett's concern about security and the stable door policy. "I shall be outside, sir, if you need me." The midshipman was new, pink, and nervous. Were we ever like that? The door swung open for him and he lifted his foot automatically to step over the old iron combing. It was exactly as he had remembered it. A great cavern of a place, concrete and high-roofed, vaulted to withstand the weight of the buildings above. And cold. Bitter cold. Powerful light shone down directly onto the central area, and there were piles of chairs, still folded, for the expected visitors. The midget submarine stood beneath one cluster of lights supported by improvised trestles. He knew something of the work done by Germany on these first small battle units as they were listed. He stood motionless, oblivious to a group of figures who were standing beneath another cluster of lights. If anything, it was surprise that gripped him. It was so small. Smaller than he would have thought capable of operating in open sea with any chance of success or survival. Like two torpedoes, one clamped on top of the other. Less than 30 feet long overall. The upper part, which in a true torpedo would have been the warhead, was a cockpit and the controls. The main and after part contained the power unit. He stooped to examine the lower section where the real torpedo would be until the moment of release. Without effort, he could recall the order and tension in the control room as he had known and shared it, cherished even in the face of danger. You were a submariner. Until the end. He could not compare this or imagine what it must be like for one man, alone and at the mercy of tide and wind, handling such a weapon. Where the actual torpedo would be hung, there had been a container, now elsewhere being examined in readiness for the conference. He was close now. His hand touching the curved steel as he might make the first contact with a beast. By standing on the lower trestle, he was able to peer into the small cockpit. It was not just simple, it was almost crude. Minimum controls and, as far as he could see, no compass at all. The one-man crew once installed in his narrow seat was sealed in by a perspex glass dome not unlike a dish cover. He was lying now on a bench, and he could see a notch in the perspex which was the aiming point when a torpedo was ready to be fired. The foresight was a plain iron spike at the forepart of the craft itself. Masters tried to imagine the countless problems and hazards the crewman or pilot would have to overcome. He would have to operate in clear visibility and reasonably calm conditions if he was to get near enough to a potential target to have any hope of success. That would make his chances of being detected all the more likely. From the marks on the side of the carrier torpedo, it seemed that the pilot's head would be only a foot or so above the waterline. "Quite something, isn't it?" Masters turned and saw a tall figure dressed in white coat and rubber boots watching him. He had thick hair, quite grey, even white beneath the glaring lights. "David Masters, isn't it? We were expecting you." He held out his hand but realized he was still wearing rubber gloves and withdrew it. "Come over here." The little group by the other bench parted to let them through. They all wore white coats and were comparing notes. One was putting a camera back into its case. "I've made sure the other items were set aside." Masters glanced at the small collection of numbered objects and the dead man on the table. Naked, pallid, pathetic.